Hello, viewers. You're welcome to our lecture series on the lower invertebrates. We are going to discuss about the kingdom Animalia today, and we'll look at the characteristics of the animals, and we'll also look at the various criteria for the classification of these animals into various phyla and classes. So I want to look at the kingdom Animalia. The kingdom Animalia. Now, what are the organisms in the kingdom Animalia and how are they, what are their various characteristics? We want to look at what animals are and basically the distinctive features of these animals and how they're different from the protozoans. The kingdom Animalia is a large group that consists of eukaryotic multicellular organisms that are heterotrophic in nature. Okay, animals are basically eukaryotic, and then they are multicellular organisms, and that distinguishes them from the protozoans. They are multicellular organisms. The protozoans that are animal-like protists are unicellular, but they have virtually all the characteristics of the animals. Now, the animals are multicellular organisms that are heterotrophic in nature. So animals are metazoans, while those protozoans and those other organisms like the amoeba, the paramecium, and many others are protozoans. Okay, and they exhibit heterotrophic nutrition. They are unable to manufacture their own food. As such, they depend on plants for food. As such, they obtain their nutrition from external sources. They are unable to produce their own food. Animal cells lack a cell wall that is present in plant cells. So one other distinctive feature is that the animal cells lack a cell wall. The cell wall that's found in plant cells is not found in animal cells. With the exception of a few animals, the majority of animals are motile, which allows them to effectively respond to stimuli and find food. The animals are motile. They're able to move from one place to another, and that enables them to respond to stimuli in the environment and also find their food. About 9 to 10 million species of animals inhabit the earth. About 800,000 species have been identified already. In general, animals are divided into two main groups, namely vertebrates, animals with backbones, and invertebrates, animals that lack backbone. These are the two major groups of animals, the ones that have a vertebral column and the ones that do not have. However, they are also divided into several phyla that will be discussed later in detail. Okay, the animals are divided into various phyla. And we'll discuss those phyla as we progress in our discussion of the animals. Now I want to look at the characteristics of animals. What are the characteristics of animals? The first characteristic of animals is that all animals are multicellular eukaryotic heterotrophs. They are multicellular, that they have more than one cell, they have several cells. They are eukaryotic heterotrophs. That's heterotrophs that are eukaryotic. Eukaryotic means that their cells have nuclei that are enclosed within nuclear membrane, while the fact that they're heterotrophs means that they are incapable of manufacturing their own food, so they depend on other organisms. They have multiple cells with mitochondria, and they rely on plants or other animals for their nourishment, and they obtain energy from the plants that they eat, which release energy, which gives them energy. So they consume energy releasing food substances from plants. Animals, the second distinctive feature of the animal is that animals typically reproduce sexually. Animals typically reproduce sexually, though there are some organisms that are able to reproduce asexually through fragmentation, like the cnidarians, and some reproduce through parthenogenesis, and so many other means, but most animals reproduce sexually. Adult animals develop from embryos. That's the third distinctive feature or characteristic. Adult animals develop from embryos. And these embryos are basically small masses of unspecialized cells. Usually when conception takes place during fertilization, the fertilization forms an embryo which develops into a full child or offspring that's been given birth to in case of the viviparous species, but in some cases, in the oviparous species, the offspring, the embryo develops within an egg and then it's hatched. Then ovoviviparous species basically keep these eggs within them and then they hatch and then pass through the genital opening. Now, some animals can regenerate or grow back mass and missing parts. Some of these animals can regenerate or grow back missing parts. Then the fifth characteristic of animals is that most animals ingest their food and then digest in some kind of internal cavity or digestive system. They ingest food and digest their food in an internal cavity known as the digestive system. The sixth characteristic is that animals are made up of cells that do not have cell walls and plastids. They're made up of cells that do not have cell walls. Okay, animals and plant cells have cell walls. The fungi cells have cell walls, but the cells of plants, animals rather, do not have cell walls and they do not have plastids such as the chloroplast. So they do not have chloroplast that would have enabled them to carry out photosynthesis. One other distinctive feature of the animals is that animals are capable of motion in some stage of their lives. They are capable of motion in some stage of their lives. There are some animals that are sessile, but their larval stages are able to move from one place to another. Okay, some are sessile, but many animals are capable of moving. So even the ones that are sessile carry out some kind of movement within them. Animals are able to respond quickly to external stimuli as a result of nerves, muscle, or contractile tissue, or both. So they are able to respond quickly to stimuli, unlike plants that would take some time to respond to stimuli in the environment. The ninth distinctive feature is that animals have a distinctive cell division when a cleavage fluid forms to separate daughter cells in the nuclear division of cells, particularly after telophase before cytokinesis. A cleavage furrow forms, which divides the two daughter cells into two parts. This is in contrast to plant cell plate, known as the phragmoplast, that forms in cell division. In plant cell, a cell plate is formed, but in animal cells during cytokinesis, a cleavage furrow is formed. Animals respire aerobically. They respire aerobically. They make use of oxygen for they breathe in oxygen, taking oxygen, which is inspiration, and then release carbon dioxide during expiration. So basically, we breathe in oxygen, utilize oxygen for when we breathe in, is to carry out oxidative metabolism, and carbon dioxide is released as a byproduct, which we breathe out, and that in turn is used by plants. The carbon dioxide is utilized by plants to carry out photosynthesis. With few exceptions, animals possess the following general biological systems. They have integumentary systems, they have lymphatic systems, they have muscular system, they have nervous system, reproductive system, respiratory system, and excretory system. They have various systems that are able to carry out various functions in the body of these organisms. Thanks a lot for listening. We appreciate your viewing of this video. That you make up time to watch subsequent videos. Thank you.